What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you are a subscriber and you're returning, I appreciate your support so much. And if you are new to this page, welcome. I hope you like it. I appreciate you supporting me and watching my videos. Today is going to be a bit different from the videos that I normally take or post, which is about health, fitness, nutrition, stuff like that. I decided that I wanted to kind of open up about my pregnancy journey, mostly my postpartum journey, labor, delivery journey, all of those experiences with you. And I know if you're a mom, soon to be mom, or just a woman in general, you could probably relate to some of this stuff. Either way, I just wanted to put this out there and kind of open up about my personal experience with labor, delivery, and postpartum. So just to give a little bit of a background, I am 24 years old. I just turned 24. I just had my baby 2 months ago. His name is Jaden. He is the sweetest boy ever. So I'm 2 months into my postpartum journey. As far as my labor goes, I can thank God, to the man above, that everything went very smooth with my labor and delivery. You know, I was trying to induce my labor because I wanted him to come as soon as possible. I think I gave birth when I was 38 weeks and 2 days. So unexpectedly, I started bouncing around on a ball one day, just kind of joking around, thinking, oh, this is gonna help induce labor. And I got up, went to the bathroom. After I was done peeing, I walked out of the bathroom, and all of a sudden it felt like I peed myself again. And I was like, oh, is this what it feels like? So it's nothing like what you see in the movies. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't even know if my water was going to break. I know it was just gonna flow out, but it didn't. But other than that, you know, my contractions started happening. Horrible pain, probably one of the worst pains I've ever felt in my life, to be completely honest. You know, so we rushed to the hospital. After about an hour or so of pushing, I was finally able to meet my beautiful son. And I did have an epidural, just so you guys know. I had an epidural, and this is one thing I want to point out. The epidural, honestly, I couldn't have done labor without the epidural. The pains I was experiencing were so bad that I was in tears for a long time. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna get the epidural, and it honestly saved me during the actual delivery part where I was pushing. So I'm thinking in my head that labor is going to be the hardest, most painful part about this whole experience, but to me, it wasn't. Labor was actually so much more smooth than I expected, maybe because of the epidural, but the worst part for me was the postpartum part, the recovery process. You're so overwhelmed with emotions, and things are happening so fast. You finally have your child in your hands, which is like the best feeling ever. But you're recovering mentally and physically from giving labor, and it really is hard. I was shocked at how painful the recovery was more than anything else. So to get into it, 5 things I wish I knew about postpartum recovery, postpartum journey. First thing is labor. I know this kind of isn't postpartum, but I wanted to go over this because this is something that I personally didn't know. Going into labor, like you've seen it in movies, seen it everywhere, where, you know, the woman is screaming and screaming and pushing at her own pace and screaming and pushing the baby out. And it was nothing like that for me. I didn't expect labor to be kind of a process where you push as you're getting your contractions. So the nurse kind of had me in a routine where every time I would get a contraction, I was already 10 centimeters dilated at this point, but every time I would get contractions, that's when I had to push. And I had to push extremely hard with my legs up, mind you. You could just picture it in your head. And count to 10. And do it 3 times in a row. And this is once you felt the contraction. And then you got to rest. That was tough. And that process, again, like I said, with the epidural was a lot easier than I expected. There was a lot of pressure, but it was a lot easier than I expected. Whereas the recovery is the hardest. So the first thing was labor. Wasn't expecting there to be, you know, a process like that of how to actually, you know, push and start to push the baby out. The second thing that I wish I knew about postpartum was crying. I might cry in this video because I'm just like emotional still. So crying for no reason, or for reasons, right? Your hormones are going crazy, but just crying. I cried when my baby cried. I cried looking at him. Like, I cried when I saw my fiance holding him. Like, you just have so many emotions. Your hormones are going crazy, and I didn't think I would be crying so much the first few weeks after labor, you know, because you're like so happy that your kid is here and, you know, he's healthy, blah, blah, blah. You just don't expect to be so emotional like that, I guess. And I know that goes for a lot of other women as well. So it's okay to cry. But I definitely felt like there were times where I was just kind of like melancholy, or what's the word? Yeah, I'm just crying almost for no reason because my hormones are just going so crazy, or I would get mad really fast or have anxiety about certain things because you're like, am I cut out for this? Like, am I cut out to be a mother, you know? So the third thing I wish I knew about postpartum is the after pains, the contractions that you still feel after your baby's here. So this was a little crazy to me because I was obviously not expecting this. When you are breastfeeding, the first few weeks after labor, you still sometimes randomly get the feeling of having a contraction, and it is extremely painful. And when this happened to me, I thought something was just wrong. Like, I thought I had an infection, but thankfully I didn't. It's just something that I didn't even know about. So getting contractions when you're breastfeeding or just randomly after you have labor is normal. So I don't know if that is something that you guys knew about. I definitely didn't know. The third thing I didn't know about postpartum, and I guess you could say breastfeeding, is how difficult breastfeeding is. I always saw and heard about moms talking about how hard it is and why there's so many support groups about it, but now that I'm actually in that situation, I completely understand. It is demanding, it is difficult, it is emotional, it is tough. Not only that, it is extremely painful the first few weeks. At least it was for me. You know, thankfully my baby latched correctly and everything was good from the get-go, but breastfeeding from then on, I cried about it because I was in so much pain. I would get in the shower and I couldn't even have the water hit my breast because I was in so much pain from breastfeeding. So this is something that I had no idea about. I mean, I thought they'd be sore, but I didn't think it would be to the point of me crying while I was feeding him and showering and just going about my everyday life. And on top of the pain, again, it's just so demanding. You always have to be pumping, you always have to be feeding on demand, you always have to be there for the baby, and it's just something that you don't really expect. You know, you're like, oh, I'm gonna breastfeed him, he'll be good. But you don't realize what kind of demand and what kind of pain it brings, and that's something that I was shocked about. And last but not least, the fifth thing that I wish I knew about postpartum was how your belly, your stomach looks after you've delivered your baby. I had no idea what to expect. Everybody's journey is different with all of these things. You know, the recovery process, all that, but this is something that I didn't expect. I didn't expect to still look pregnant even like 5 days after I gave birth. And it's just the weirdest sensation because you're still in pain, you're still feeling these contractions. It's almost like you still feel pregnant in a sense. Like, you have these moments where you're like, did I just get kicked in the stomach? Like, wait, no, he's in my arms. Like, this is just weird. Your body is just like reacting to everything that's happening. But I didn't expect your stomach to, I didn't expect my stomach to just go immediately flat the next day. I just didn't know that it took that long to kind of go through the motions of it getting flatter, and it felt so jello-y. I don't know how to explain it. It just felt really flabby. Quick it's gonna go down. You don't know what's gonna happen because you're just simply recovering, and it's not like you're active, you're in the gym or anything like that. And just seeing your body like that, it can be discouraging the first few weeks after. But on a positive note, just know that it will go down, it will flatten, and you'll feel a lot better once you're back in the gym. For me, it took a while to go down. I felt very insecure. I felt like I didn't even want to go out in public. And that's kind of how it was for most of recovery, because I felt insecure about my body. There were so many emotions going on. I felt like I was constantly just kind of taking care of the baby, changing diapers, feeding him, repeat, not getting any sleep, and then trying to get sleep. That was just like a vicious cycle with postpartum. And as amazing as it is, I feel like these are some of the things that women don't talk about with their postpartum journey. So I wanted to come on here and share that stuff with you guys. A few things I have to say to all of my women out there: if you're going through your postpartum journey, if you're pregnant, if you're thinking about having a kid, if you're just watching this because you're interested, just know that despite all the painful situations, all the changes that you're going through, the lack of sleep, all these emotions that you're feeling, and everything that I discussed, despite all of that, it is the most beautiful feeling in the world to obviously have your kid in your arms finally, and it makes all of this worth it. Of course, it sounds cliche, but it's true. So as of right now, I am 2 months postpartum, and it's definitely gotten easier. I definitely get more sleep, but I will say that there are still things that you struggle with mentally and physically, and I would say my journey is far from perfect. And you know, a lot of the time social media kind of portrays that everything's good, you're not going through anything. You know, we always want to post our best selves, right? But I just wanted to let you know that if you are going through this, or if you're about to, you're not alone. And it's really hard. Like, it is hard. You're going through all these lifestyle changes, and you're trying to be the best you can be for your child while recovering mentally and physically. If you're going through that, or you're about to go through that, you are strong and you are capable. Woo! Sorry. Be patient with yourself and your recovery. Be patient with yourself if you're getting back in the gym. Be patient with yourself as a mother in general, because it is literally the hardest thing ever, but it's also the most rewarding by far. I hope this video opened your eyes, taught you something, was helpful. Maybe you related to this video. Maybe this was just informative for you. I don't know. Whatever this video was to you, I hope it was something. And if you were curious about my journey, or what I went through, what I didn't know, what I learned, I hope this kind of opened your eyes as well. And let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it and thought it was helpful. And thank you for watching. I love you guys all so much. Your support means everything to me, and